Hello.
Hi, Nikki.
I'm Nikki Fraser.
Pleasure to meet you, Nikki.
Pleasure to
Please
meet
have
you.
a seat.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome to the office.
Thank you. Do you mind if I place my pictures right here? Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
That's good.
No stress.
No stress.
No stress.
We're good.
We'll
get comfy then.
Absolutely.
So, my name is Nikki Fraser, as I introduced myself before, and I'm here on the topic of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. I don't know if it's like the hype of being here and getting the opportunity to speak to the Prime Minister. Such a huge topic. But thank you for having me here, and thank you for committing to the public inquiry on Indigenous women like myself and the ones that have gone missing. I lost my auntie and my cousin. This is my Auntie Dorothy, and this is my cousin Samantha. And she went missing in Kamloops, and then my auntie went missing in the downtown east side. So I'm here for them and the many other families that have been through the same thing that my family is living through right now. And the reason why I'm here, because I'm an Indigenous youth, and you hold the youth, you're the Minister of Youth. And you also committed to have Indigenous people on your priority list. So you combine those two, and I'm like, that's huge, that's powerful. And I'm here because I want to know what you as a Prime Minister plan to do from preventing this from continuing to happen to the Indigenous women and girls today and for the future ones, because I have a daughter who's Indigenous. She's beautiful. And I just want to know what your plan is for this from not happening anymore in Canada.
Well, first of all, we have to recognize where we come from. And this office, this place, this parliament has failed Indigenous peoples in this country for a long time. There have been some bright moments, but what we need is to put, whether it's residential schools, whether it's the terrible tragedy that is the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, behind us, and the way to do that is to go through proper processes and build a renewed relationship, a partnership. So on the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, our Indigenous Affairs Minister is in the consultation process right now to make sure that the public inquiry that we're going to launch very shortly involves everyone, has space for everyone, has room for premiers, has room for the provinces, municipalities, and mostly the families.
It should be 100% the families.
Absolutely. But there's lessons to learn and things to make sure that we do, so we get healing for the families and the loved ones, so we get justice for the victims, and mostly so we make sure that your daughter and no one else's daughter, sister, cousin, niece, friend gets to go through this in the future. And that for me is a big piece of what we have to do going forward. The challenges facing the Indigenous community in this country are something that simply cannot be allowed to continue. We need investments in infrastructure, in education, in health. We need to recognize that the future of Indigenous communities, where 25%, the largest percentage of people under 25 in Canada are in Indigenous communities. So it's not just about the future of those communities, it's about the future of our country. And getting that right means working in respect and in partnership, and talking to you, talking to everyone in your community, talking about how we're going to build a better future together, not imposed by me or by this place to tell, well, this is how you're going to get out of the problem, but say, how can we work this together and build a brighter future for everyone?
Yeah, empowering us as a nation to help us help our people. And I think that's huge. Another question is that our RCMP have had a really horrible track record when it comes to dealing with missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls cases. And I think it's just a lack of inaction that they have, especially when cases like my auntie and my cousin, when they go idle. And the proof is out there that they just, lack of a better word, just don't feel like an Indigenous woman's life is valued. How are you going to make the RCMP care about us Indigenous people, but most importantly, Indigenous women and girls?
Well, first of all, this is why it was so important that the federal government call an inquiry, because rather, I mean, a number of provinces and communities tried to move forward, but without involving everyone, including our National Police Force, we weren't going to get to the kind of resolution and forward action for this we need. We need to recognize that there's been a culture throughout this country in all sorts of different levels of official responsibility, institutional responsibilities that have not been fully respectful of the nation-to-nation relationship, the spirit intent of the original treaties, and the kind of shared partnership of all who live on this land that we're supposed to have. Mm-hmm. There are big changes to make institutionally right across the board. The RCMP is part of it, but the culture of politics and government is a big part of it as well.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it also is like, how are we going to educate? It is one thing calling a public inquiry, but then you get the big thank you, the sigh of like, oh my God, it's finally happened. 30 years of fighting is happening. And then you get the people who've been opposed to it, who say, well, every woman, Indigenous person, or every woman in this country is important. I 100% agree with that. But then you get the people who are opposed to it just being focused on Indigenous people, and I don't think they're educated enough on what is happening to our girls, my peers, to be quite honest, to the girls that are below me and to the women that were before me. And I think, how do you plan on educating the people who are just not happy that the inquiry is called?
Well, part of that is what leadership is. It's having a prime minister and a government that says this matters. Indigenous lives matter. I mean, that you even have to say that is you know, frustrating to me. Yeah. And then you demonstrate it. You demonstrate by creating opportunities to invest in education so that a student in a First Nations community gets the same kind of investment in there that a non-Indigenous student in a provincial system gets. You start highlighting that we need to invest, we need to create opportunity, and we need to create growth, and quite frankly, seeing greater success and recognition of the potential and the contribution of Indigenous people in this country, particularly women and girls, is just good for the whole of our society. So I'm not overly worried about those people who continue to try and pretend there's nothing wrong and nothing needs to be done. I know there's lots to be done, and I'm focused on making sure we do it together.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. So the inquiry, I'm grateful, and I was happy. I actually was there. I was a day late when you announced it at AFN, but it was a huge thing, and huge, 30 years waiting, and I just want to say thank you from just me, and I'm sure everyone else wants to be thankful too. And
how old's your daughter?
She's 3. Her name is Ayanna Rose.
Ayanna Rose.
And I have a son. His name is Trey.
And how old is Trey?
5. Yes, and you have children as well.
Yes, I have a 8-year-old, almost 7-year-old daughter, and a 2-year-old son.
That's wonderful.
No, it keeps everything in perspective and priority.
Yeah, it does, and that's why I'm here, is because of them. I don't want her to have to grow up in a country where I have to feel like her life is less valuable than a non-Indigenous little girl life, right? So
I agree entirely, and that's something that we're working very, very hard on, and I look forward to working with you and communities across the country. One of the things about having kids, I mean, I've always been, and you pointed out, I'm the youth minister as well as prime minister, and for me, when I think about youth, as a youth activist, I was always thinking about my own experience growing up and projecting that and how young people need to be now. When I think about youth issues now, I look at my kids and I think about their future instead of thinking back to my past. So there's a shift in being engaged in youth issues, but thinking about that next generation that I found really, really transformative. And you as a youth activist, you must see that sort of both ways.
I do. I'm actually, I fit both profiles. I'm a youth myself. I consider myself a youth. And also when I think about it, when I'm sitting there trying to promote and betterment of in youth, Indigenous women youth, and youth in general, I think about my kids as well. So, but thank you for having me. And
it's a real pleasure to meet you.
Yes,
Nikki.
of course. I was really nervous on coming.
No, you did just great.
I was like, I'm the first one here. I'm like, oh my gosh.
You did wonderfully.
So 10 minutes is up. Thank you so much. I'll give you a hug. Oh, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. And don't forget these beautiful pictures.
No, and thanks for having me. Traditionally, as an Indigenous person, I have the opportunity to share my story. We give a gift. So I was told to give my gift to you after. So I will meet with you after and I'll give you my gift for you.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you so much.